Good morning. Today I'm preparing for a heat spike that we have coming around here tomorrow. Today it's going to be 31, 32 degrees locally. Tomorrow though we're going to be getting up to 37, potentially 38 degrees. So it's going to be the first really hot day of the year here. As a result of that, I find that you get the most shock in your plants and your trees on that first day. So today is all about heat proofing the garden ready for a heat spike. A seaweed solution is going to be the basis of preparing the vegetable beds and our potted fruit trees in preparation for this heat. These go by various brands, depends on where you come from. Here in Australia the primary brand is Seaweed. There are other varieties out there on the market. Obviously these are concentrates, so they can make up to a much higher volume of liquid depending on the density of the micro sort of minerals that are actually in it that actually help plants put up with heat or transplant shock. A lot of people put together YouTube videos about transplant shock and the benefits of sea soil. I've adapted that. I'm not entirely sure whether or not that actually does the job in the way that I'd hoped, but definitely heat preparation, it works a treat. Seaweed solution dilution, I think it's a bit of a variable thing. There are obviously instructions on packets of these products, but I just basically find the thing that works for me is there's a little rib on the inside of the lids, so basically I just use that as a guide in the equivalent of putting it into a standard watering can with 9 litres of water. What I find with this, when it's mixed around, it gives us a pretty good concentration for what we need. What we normally do is we apply it reasonably early in the morning, like we are today. The stomata, the little breathing apparatus on the plants, are all open, and it's a great time to absorb this as a foliar feed. Obviously doing it in the morning too helps on things that are a bit sensitive to water application to their leaves, like tomatoes. So basically that's how we handle this. So what I try to do is just make sure we get it on all the leaves for the plants, a bit gets to the ground, just so they can soak this up early and are prepared for the heat today and tomorrow. Our first prize tomatoes, they're sort of they're a determinate tomato, like a patio tomato. They were, as usual with me, I've staked them, only really in this case just from the wind, because they are a little bit brittle. They're sturdy little plants, but they're brittle. Interestingly enough, they were the first tomatoes to go in. They have not, to my knowledge as yet, set any fruit. Our other tomatoes are starting to form fruit. These are pollos. You can sort of see there are fruit forming in there. Not a great deal as yet, but you know, it's early times. Almost killing myself, falling over things. Gros Liz, again, a lot of blossom, not a great deal of fruit. And I do wonder whether it's just a mixture of very cold nights that we're still getting at the moment, whether or not that's affecting fruit set. But we'll see. Very early fruit forming here. Very, very early. Anyway, sweet potato over here, starting to recover from possum damage, so that's a good sign. Onions really fattening up here, ready for putting away over the Christmas period, which is great. Just a word of advice here, you can sort of see jacaranda trees around here drop a huge amount of blossom this time of year. The problem with them though is that when they do that, they can create fungal problems on the plants. So one of the things we have to do, particularly if it's windy, the wind will clean them off, but in a strong plant like an eggplant, you sometimes have to go and take them off yourself. It's a pain, but that's the way it is. The growth rate of this corn, you can really see the difference here now. The Miracle variety in the bed to the right, you can see the height of it compared to the early extra sweet variety down there on the left. Clearly the Miracle is going to be a much bigger or much faster growing plant. I'm really now interested to see how they're going to end up by the time they get to the point of growth. These guys here is their mystery corn, growing incredibly well. Really pleased with that. Possums, or possibly corellas, a form of parrot, have been raiding our paradise pear that's used here as a pollinator for the other pears. Come down, knock down all the young fruit. It's disappointing, but really the job of the tree is done. The Williams pears and other pears here have already been fertilised, so that's good. There's a proverb that goes along the lines that the easiest way to till a field is to buy a chicken. I think it's actually Chinese in origin. One of the things that we find is when we get fresh straw, we start loading it in, we do nothing. We let them do it. They love it. They're always a bit shocked by the straw when it first arrives. You know, it's a bit of an alien thing. And then suddenly it becomes really interesting. And as soon as the interest starts, the spreading begins. Yeah, they go. Get into it, girls. Commercial onion experiment here is absolutely covered with bees. Really looking forward to seeing how this turns out. Whether the seed will be viable, it'll be worth some space in the garden just to find out. Well, that's it today. Bit of a reminder about using seaweed solution as a way to heat treat your plants, particularly in pots, and young plants and trees. I'm really happy with the way the garden's coming along. Really happy I'm re-engaging with the garden, which is really, really good. Anyway, if you're enjoying this, like and subscribe. It always helps, of course. Any questions, I'm always happy to take those, and I'm really keen to hear what everybody else does to heat treat their gardens, in addition to perhaps seaweed, mulch, those kind of things, deep watering. Anyway, see you later. It doesn't take you very long, does it? Come on, get back to work. See you guys.